I know everyone's extremely busy with like work and family and life and all the other things that may come your way. So thank you for taking an hour of your time to spend it with me here tonight. Some of you have been with us for a long time. Maybe just a couple quick, I don't know if this is door prizes or like questions as people are rolling in here. Um, let's see who on this trip, who on this call has done the most TSX hikes. And Mike, you're excluded from hiking the hikes in general. Um, let's see, how many have you have done at least one hike? Maybe show of hands. Okay, how many have you have done two hikes? Well, we got a lot of repeats here. How about three hikes? All right. Four, you starting to drop off. How about five? Okay, we got Natalie's in here, Peter's in here, Philip, you're in here, Jose's in here. Kevin, you're close. Are you five? Kevin's
Yeah,
at
I'm
five.
fine. Yeah.
Cool, cool. Maybe you have done six. Cliff did five in 1 year. So
Okay, that's too many.
he has the record for the most in 1 year. Okay, how many of you have done seven? I think Jose is the only. I see Jose. Who else has their hand up here? I feel like there should be others. Where's Nikki? I thought she was here. Maybe she's not. Maybe she's off screen at the moment. All right, so we got Jose. You're at six. Nikki is in a Zoom meeting. There she is. She's busy at the moment.
No, I think I did seven.
Okay, Jose says seven. Is anyone beyond seven?
Chris.
I'm not sure if I can see anyone else here. Okay, okay. I think maybe you take the cake tonight, Jose. Jose, real quick, what's your favorite hike of the seven that you've done?
Oh wow, that's tough. How about the second Whitney where we actually made it?
Okay. Oh yeah, the first Whitney. Oh man. You got a good story, Jose. So Jose did a trip with us. He did the Mount Whitney trip with us, and the very first Mount Whitney trip he did, we got turned around on day two or day three, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. You got halfway up to Colby, then some altitude issues came in, and you guys ended up turning back around, and then like the parks caught on fire and everything shut down and
Yep,
everything was closed down for the rest of the summer, pretty much.
yep.
Yeah. Okay. The second one making it to Whitney. Um, all right. Let's see. Cliff, you are the next one up. Cliff, what was your favorite trip here?
Mel Whitney.
No. Okay. Mount Whitney. Cool. It's a classic. It's
Great trip.
a
It is
classic.
a classic.
It's a classic. It's a classic. Cool. Thank you guys for joining in here. Let's see who is the farthest. Who's coming from the farthest distance? I have a guess of who it might be. Anyone coming in from outside the states?
By the states.
Outside the states. Jeff, where are you coming in from?
Toronto.
Toronto. Okay, Toronto.
Outside the country.
Can we beat Toronto? Anyone farther than Toronto?
The Dodgers beat Toronto, but I don't know if that counts.
I think Pittsburgh's further than Toronto.
It could be fixed. It could be farther than Toronto.
Rimouski here in Quebec is farther than Toronto.
All right,
That's for
Quebec,
sure.
Quebec.
Yeah.
Peter Callan, you must be in the States then if you're not
I'm
chiming
in, I'm in America.
in. Okay. Cool. All right, we'll take Toronto. We'll take Quebec. Quebec. That's cool. Well, thank you guys for joining. We'll keep this going here.
No,
Um,
no door prizes.
who has been on Mount Whitney the most, Mike?
Probably me, but you're probably trying to catch up. But
I'm not that close yet.
okay, I'm at 50, so I guess I'll stop. Huh?
Mike is at 50 times on Mount Whitney. That's all right. There you go. So Mike is for those of you who don't know Mike, he's the OG here. He's the one who first introduced me to backpacking. I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. So Dawn, thanks for joining as well. Two more people just jumped in. Elizabeth Lake, thanks for joining as well. Uh, cool. Tom, thanks for joining. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Chris Casado. I'm the co-founder of TSX Challenge, and it's really awesome to have all of you here tonight. And Sydney, is Sydney here tonight as well? I think Sydney might be- Hey, Sydney here. Cool. So Sydney might pop in with a few extra comments here later tonight. Um, this is our 15th year, incredibly, of like organizing backpacking trips across the Sierra and through the Grand Canyon and not to some other locations. And we've been holding these events online as ways to kind of keep people connected to the outdoors, share a little bit about what we love and what we know in the Sierra. and also hopefully inspire people to step outside their comfort zone and try different things. And I know many of you on this call tonight are here because you've experienced some of that magic of being on the trail with us, or something that is like, inspired you to kind of try something different. And so thank you guys so much for like spending your time with us, for taking your vacation time, bringing your family with us. I know Jose is backpacked with like different family members, and they keep coming back regardless, even though he puts them through all these challenges. And so it's awesome. Um, Tonight we're going to share a little bit of like the stories from this past year, and share with you something new. And I'm super excited. We'll see how this goes. There's always a little bit of a surprise element, but thank you guys for joining. I'm going to switch over and share my screen for a moment. Let me know if you guys can see this here. Hopefully that should be okay. We good?
Good.
Yep.
Cool. So this is a picture of you know my very first ever overnight backpacking trip, back in the early 90s actually. And Mike is in this picture possibly. This is 1993, 1994 as we're going across the Sierra to Mount Whitney, and this is a shot of Big Wet Meadow, which is on that Trans Sierra route, and many of it we are familiar with. In the background is Whaleback. So this is day 2, day 3 of that Trans Sierra trip. But for this year, like we're going to talk about a couple different things. We'll talk about a little bit about the history, about what we've done. We'll talk about some of the stories and updates from like the past trips that we've run, some of the highlights from 2025, and then we'll talk about what's new for 2026. And then teaser here is what's new for 2027 as well. What we introduced last year was kind of fun. In fact, last year we had this event online, and we introduced our first international trip, which was out to Baffin Island. That is going to be taking place this summer. So we kind of scheduled it 2 years in advance. It's a long expedition, roughly speaking, 12 to 14-day expedition. We go up to Ottawa. We spend some time exploring some of the most remote, least traveled parts of the Great North, which is across from Greenland in Baffin Island. It has the largest sheer granite face on Earth, as you're hiking through the valley. It has some beautiful vistas, remote terrain, some incredible glacial crossings. And getting there, however, is not trivial. So the logistics of getting up to Canada, and especially kind of above the Arctic, it's a little bit complicated. But we're kind of meeting up in the Ottawa area. Then we're gonna have a couple flights up to Kit, take a big boat up a fjord. We're gonna be hiking roughly 50 to 60 miles across Baffin Island, and then taking another boat on the outside, coming back out. So this is kind of a snapshot of what we released last year. We had pretty strong demand. In fact, we were able to kind of like organize 2 trips out of this, which is awesome. And at the moment, those trips are technically full. We do have, there may be a possibility for some cancellations, but if you're interested in Baffin Island, if you missed the boat last year, we are actually going to be doing it again in 2027. So we're now starting to open up early access for 2027. It's really simple. There's no upfront commitment. This is kind of like we're building it and learning it as we go. If you're interested in learning more about Baffin Island, you can go to our website, do an indication of interest, just as 250, fully refundable if you can back out at any time. And this is just as we kind of pull a team together to see if we have enough interest and how we're going to build the teams for 2027. Or you can also be on the wait list for 2026 as well. So keep that in mind if you're interested in kind of like a larger, big destination, international type trip. We are also going to introduce our second international trek tonight, which I'm super excited about. People have been asking us on the trips, hey, Chris, it'd be cool to get a group together and you could go here, or get a group together and go there. I think people like to kind of bond with like-minded individuals like that are attracted to kind of the challenge of TSX. Some people have asked us, hey, can we go to Kilimanjaro together? Maybe we can go to Everest Base Camp or do something like that. It's been floated around whether we do Peru and Machu Picchu or the Salcante Trail, or maybe even Mont Blanc. A few other ideas that have been floated around include Patagonia and Cotopaxi. All of these are awesome areas, great places, but they're all kind of like on the circuit of places that maybe some of you have been to, maybe some of you aspire to go to, and they're all awesome, but I'm not sure if we can add a lot of value there. So we are going to be releasing our second international trek tonight, but it won't be to any of these locations. So hang tight, it'll be someplace a little bit different. Cool. So with that in mind, let's talk about like what's happened this past year. So when I first started backpacking and first started TSX, in fact with Mike, who's on the call here today, I initially thought we'd have a lot of young people out. And, it took a while to kind of get that process moving. My goal was like to create an experience that can inspire people of all different ages, all different backgrounds, all different sizes, enable them to do something a little bit bigger and more difficult than they thought they could do. That applies to people of all ages, but I think especially when you're younger, that experience really sticks with you for life and can have a long lasting impact, like it did for me. I'm super happy to say that this past year we had the most number of young people out on the trail than ever before. Our youngest group was a bunch of like sixth graders that came out to the Lost Coast. It was a Girl Scout group. They were carrying full packs, 20, 25-pound packs. They were with moms and dads as well. But the Lost Coast was an incredible place for them to kind of get their feet wet, doing 3 nights, 4 days backpacking on very rugged but approachable terrain. And you can kind of see here all different sizes here. They enjoyed both the challenge of it and also the marshmallows and hot chocolate around the campfire.
Best part.
Best part. And especially the wildlife. I think the Lost Coast has probably one of the best wildlife scores, like of all the trips that we have. Like there's wildlife all over the place. If you haven't considered the Lost Coast, we have 6 trips planned for next year. 4 of them are full. We have two trips that still have some space remaining. We're currently in the process of finalizing those permits now that the government is back open. So we should have those dates firmed in the next, hopefully, I think 4 weeks, probably. We should have those dates firmed up. But we'd love to have you on the Lost Coast. Bonus as we keep growing is in 2026, we are finally going to be approved to lead like Girl Scouts officially. So like Northern California Girl Scouts, they kind of like what we're doing. We got plugged in with them. And so we're going to be an approved vendor for the Girl Scouts organization for Northern California and hopefully adding other locations as well. So our goal is again to kind of fit the price point, fit the experience that can get more young people out. We also had families out in the Grand Canyon, different ages, different experience levels. This is a group that was on the Thunder River trip. And for a few of them, it was their first ever overnight backpacking trip, which was awesome. For a few of them, they were old experienced canyon hands. This gentleman, this boy here on the left, it was his first time backpacking. He was a ninth grader. And there he is in kind of Deer Creek, Thunder River. It was a tough trip. These are tough trips, sometimes more difficult than most people expect. But there's something that's pretty amazing about like just getting out there with your family, spending time out there unplugged, no internet, no email, no cell phone, off the screens, etc. We also had a couple of student trips. When I say student trips, like educational student trips. In the Grand Canyon in particular, the last couple of years we've been hosting an 11th grade class, and that class has gone from 1 class to 2 classes to 3 classes next year. And the groups keep getting bigger and bigger. And when we were backpacking the Grand Canyon, they have pretty much one spring break period. There's one travel event period, which they're trying to like experience the Grand Canyon. The groups can get kind of large as the classes get large. Now you have 10, 15, 20 kids in the class. And the challenge becomes like, how do you manage and get all of them together for like an educational experience with its teachers and instructors and everything happening the right way? So behind the scenes, we have a lot of like thought processes on how we're going to like solve this problem. And one way we did it was we got a little bit creative. So the Grand Canyon divides their geographies up into like zones. And you can only have one group camp in one zone per night. So if you have 2 groups camping, they have to be roughly speaking in these 2 different zones, which are oftentimes, many miles away from each other. But we got a little bit creative. We found like a more remote trail, a more remote route. In fact, it's on the Rim to Rim trip that we've been doing. It's on the North Pass to South Pass Trail. And we figured out if we camp on one side of the beach, one side of the river, there's a nice beach over there. We can actually go ahead and camp on the other side of the beach as well. And so we had a group of roughly speaking 20 students down in the Grand Canyon. So they were camped right across from the river from each other. And every morning they'd wake up and they'd float across the river, have their instruction, do their hikes, and then one group would float back. And the next morning, the other group would float across the river, and then they'd float back again. So it was kind of a fun way to kind of like experience the Grand Canyon. If you have ever wanted to hike across the Grand Canyon, kind of the more robust way without a bridge, you can check out our Grand Canyon Extreme Challenge trip. We're going to have 2 trips next year. It's really kind of difficult to run this trip. There's only 2 good time frames to do it, which is in the spring and the fall. Roughly speaking, the last 2 weeks of May and the end of September, early October is kind of the best time to run these trips. So keep an eye out for that if you like to kind of get into the Grand Canyon and go rim to rim. We are also going to introduce, part of this, I should say, part of the student trips, we actually added an additional student trip, and I'll tell you the story about how we added this additional student trip in a minute. But like we added the trip to a new location mid-year. Like we weren't planning to run a trip out there. We just found this location, made it happen. It was on my radar, and we pulled it together, and it was pretty amazing. Kind of how we got here is like we've been hiking and adding trips like incrementally as we go every year, based on what we feel is interesting, what we like to share with you, and hopefully, if we think it's interesting, you feel it's interesting as well. It started with the Trans Sierra Extreme Challenge trek, which is Jose and Cliff's favorite, the OGs on this call tonight. We had the Grand Canyon back in 2015, and Kelsey, who's on the call, I think right now, was out there leading a bunch of trips, both in the cold and the heat. It went both directions this year. The Hell for Sure trip, by the way, these are all pictures of current trips that we had out there this past year, different teams that were on the trail. Hell for Sure, we actually had a season where hell froze over this year. In July, we had snow on the trail. It snowed for one night. We had Mount Goddard back in 2019, and we had one group attempt the summit. They got a little bit rained out, not quite this year. We had the Escalante route back in 2021, which is a 3-night, now a 4-night trip on some of the most rugged remote trails in the Grand Canyon on the eastern side. We have Tehipite Valley. This is Dirk taking a group into Tehipite Valley. They might not look that happy on this trail. This is as they're coming down the 72 switchbacks, making their way down to the valley floor. But I promise you, if you look across the valley floor, it looks like this. This is what they're looking out to, and it is worth the effort. Tehipite Valley is like Yosemite Valley, but with no people. It has the largest sheer granite face on Earth, largest sheer granite dome in the Sierra, a 3,000-foot rise, 3,500-foot rise from the valley floor to the dome summit. And we have a trip that goes out both to the summit and to the valley floor. Interestingly enough, this trail has not been maintained in many years. However, everyone that has an interest in maintaining it has been calling us. So the Park Service gave us a call earlier this year, and they're like, Chris, we don't think we have a ranger or anybody that's been out on the trail recently. We may want to go clean it up. Like, what's the trail conditions like? And then another packer called us up and said, hey, Chris, I'm gonna have a contract to go clean this trail up. What are the conditions like? And so we called them and we're like, you know what? How about we just clean it up ourselves? And so we're now in the process of trying to get the contract to actually go and maintain this trail ourselves. So we're working on that, and hopefully we'll have Tehipite cleaned up for everyone to experience for many years to come. The confluence, we made it out to the confluence on the far eastern side of the Grand Canyon as well. Beautiful with the kind of the blending of the waters from the Little Colorado to the main Colorado come in. It's also a great place to kind of rejuvenate the skin with these mud masks and facial masks. Thunder River was a blast. This is a group that was kind of cooling off in the main river at the time. Made it out to Jump Up Canyon, kind of narrow slot canyons on the north side of the Grand Canyon. We had many different groups. We had actually 6 different groups on the Lost Coast this year, which was awesome. I feel like we're slowly becoming one of the largest organizations to kind of operate on the Lost Coast, and they're starting to know who we are. We're looking to kind of getting like a longer term permit with them, and so it's been kind of a fun experience growing with the park, growing with the rangers up there. They like us, we like them, and growing with the people that we take up there because it's just like a magical place, a fun place to be. We call this like our foodie trip because we eat pretty well on this route. Rim to Rim Challenge. We had a couple of those Rim to Rim trips again, both for families and for kind of the regular TSX groups. I haven't been talking much about this on social media or emails, but I would say our Yosemite trip was amazing this year. I heard great feedback from it. The pictures looked amazing. I think we have Kevin and a few people who are on this call who were on this trip. I'm not sure if anyone wants to chime in here. It was
I'll
Whitney.
chime in.
Go for it, Kevin.
Super bloom of Indian, what is it called? Indian the
Paintbrushes.
flower paintbrush. Yeah, it was a super bloom coming into, I forget what area, but it was awesome. The cross country was very fun. So,
How would you rate this as a difficulty level, Kevin, compared to the other trips you've done?
well, we toned it down, and we had somebody who had hurt their ankle. So we needed to tone it down. So we didn't do all the trips, but I would say we could have gone a little bit bigger, but it was the right size for what we had, who the people we had, everything. The cross country was really fun.
Cool.
What we were doing right here was all just going back and forth from bench to bench. So it was definitely fun. We saw some golden eagles soaring on the ridge line. So that was pretty awesome. So
And- Go ahead.
Sorry, it's Whitney.
Whitney.
Kevin, it was
Oh.
the altitude thickness first and then
Yeah.
the ankle. But
Yeah.
It was definitely harder than hell for sure, I would say, but similar with the off-trail route.
Okay.
And why it was amazing. Like
Yeah.
it was
Wyatt.
incredible.
Yeah. That was fun.
Well, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It was a great trip.
All right. So we have multiple.
Yeah, nice to
multiple-
see you two there. I was on that trip too,
Yes.
and I can echo what they're saying. It was a really unique experience. Finding our way up a pass that didn't have a trail, and we named it Pika Pass. So there you go.
Yeah,
A lot
we
of
like to
fun.
claim all these as our own. So thank you guys for being that inaugural trip. I think most of your groups on the call here tonight. So thank you all. I I'm excited. We're gonna have at least one trip next year. That trip is almost full. If you're interested in that Yosemite trip, keep an eye on it. Now's a good time to sign up. We'd love to have you out there. If it does fill and we get good interest, we might open up a second trip as well. TBD. We had the intention to go out to Nanquip this year. The Nanquip was scheduled to be, it's on the north rim of the Grand Canyon on the east side. It's one of the more challenging, more difficult trips that we have in the Grand Canyon. It ended up getting blown out by the fire. So it was planned originally for the fall of 2025. The fire came in, kind of had an impact on it, and we were not able to kind of reach the trailhead. So it has been postponed to the spring for our inaugural trip for the spring of 2026. If you're interested in Nanquip, keep that in mind. It's for the diehard canyon lovers like Kevin, I believe, who's going to be on the trip, or maybe a few others. So we'd love to have you out there in Nanquip. And then we talked about Baffin Island earlier on. So these are the kind of trips that we have that we've organized. So what's new? Well, how do we people always ask me like, how do you pick the locations that you go to, Chris? Like what is like interesting to you? Well, we had like Big Kids in the Grand Canyon, which is this amazing 11th grade class, and Andy, who is kind of the instructor and like a good friend, reached out to me and said, "Hey, Chris, we have another group out there. Another group, a ninth grade class. Their big expedition just got blown out, and we need a new home for them. We had like a month and a half to figure this out. Like, where can we go?" So we operate like in the Sierra, the Grand Canyon. These are all the locations that we had, and these are all kind of like full permits were taken up in the Grand Canyon. In the Sierra, of course, we were like, this is late April timeframe. It's all snowed in, so we can't get out in the Sierra. And so the question is like, where do we go next? We tried the Lost Coast, but unfortunately the permits weren't available for the Lost Coast either at that time frame. So we took a look at the map, and I had an idea. The idea I had is something that was been on my radar for a number of years, actually. I had one person work with me back in like 2020, 2021, and he guided with us for a couple years, Vicente. And then he ended up moving on, becoming a park ranger out in Gila Wilderness. Where is Gila Wilderness? Gila Wilderness is in New Mexico. And Vicente called me up a couple years ago, and he's like, Chris, like, Gila Wilderness is amazing. It's like high solitude. The trails are beautiful. They put in a ton of effort to the trails to kind of like improve the trails and make it more like user friendly. They were all doing this in preparation for the 100-year anniversary of the Gila Wilderness. Gila Wilderness is in New Mexico. It's like a remote location, and he's like, "You got to check it out." Like, it was on my radar. Kind of filed it away, and when we needed it, we were like, "Okay, let's go back and look at Gila Wilderness again. Can we get a trip together out there?" So Dirk, Kelsey, Forrest went out. They scouted a route, and we put together like the perfect multi-night backpacking route that takes advantage of like that high solitude of the Gila Wilderness. If you're not familiar with the Gila Wilderness, it is in, again, New Mexico. It was the nation's first designated wilderness. And the route that we go takes you through kind of a lot of the different features. You have the cliff dwellings, which are created by the Mulligan people. Someone can help me with the spelling here or the pronunciation.
Kelsey's in the chat.
Kelsey's in the chat. Thanks, Kelsey. Maybe she's not available, but she can help me pronounce.
She's
on
not,
an
I don't think, but
airplane, supposedly.
It's all good.
yeah,
It's all good.
it's Mogoyan.
Mogoyan. Thank you. Mogoyan.
She helped me practice a lot.
Thanks, Dirk. Hey, Dirk's here as well. Thanks, Dirk, for joining. Um, So the Mogollon people created like these cliff dwellings back in the day, and this is a high feature of kind of the Gila Wilderness. I would say it's high solitude. There is not a lot of people out there. Um, Pristine terrain, a lot of history. This is kind of like the original Wild West back in the day. So there's both native history, Wild West history as well, and the trail takes you real close with some like very intimate beauty, completely unplugged. There's plenty of open space, and it's an opportunity to kind of like step back on the trip and kind of walk in the footsteps of Apache leaders, Wild West pioneers, and explore some of the more rugged, kind of remote canyons. So we ended up moving a trip out there. We did two groups out there, kind of simultaneously, two youth trips, staggered apart, and they loved it. The feedback was amazing, and so we're happy to introduce like our next trip, which is going to be the Gila Wilderness, New Mexico Challenge. Pretty simple. It's a 5 night, 6 day experience, 25 miles. And we're going to be primarily attracted kind of the Gila Wilderness, the cliff dwellings, the Gila River, both on the South Fork and the Middle Fork of the Gila River. This is what intersect. As a bonus, there are some hot springs to enjoy when you're on the trail, which is nice as well. And the stars out there are phenomenal, as is the moon. So if you're interested in something a little bit off the beaten path, high solitude, remote, a kind of a tranquil place to kind of explore and experience kind of the wilderness together, we'd love to have you out with us. What is the catch? What it makes this the challenge? Well, there's always a catch with something that we do. Um, there are a few stream crossings on this route. I'm not sure who's counting, but it was somewhere in the north of like 70 stream crossings on this route at some point where we're like hiking along the river for a certain length of time. But I'm not sure who's really counting at that point.
How many land crossings then? Maybe four land crossings.
One land crossing,
One land
two land
crossing.
crossings, one across to each side of the river. This is the Gila Wilderness Challenge, and we'd love to have you out with us. We have two trips planned. One is kind of just before Easter, around the spring break timeframe. The other is going to be kind of in the early fall timeframe as well. Two great times to be out in New Mexico. Elevation ranges from roughly 5,000 to 7,000 feet in elevation range, 55 to 7,500 roughly speaking. 25 miles, nice pacing. Our starting point is going to be El Paso for picking up and meeting people and bringing them in. And if you'd like to spend some time in the fall, you can feel free to fly into Albuquerque and you can enjoy the hot air balloon festivals that are taking place in New Mexico at that time of year as well. So this is the first designated wilderness in the United States. So I'll pause for a second and see if there's any questions about the Gila Wilderness.
Chris, real quickly on the Gila, rather than driving all the way to El Paso, can there be another alternative meeting point near the trailhead?
You can just meet us at the trailhead if you like. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. So the departing El Paso is 8 a.m., meeting at the trailhead roughly noon to 1 p.m. And then the first day is kind of exploring along the cliff dwellings and hanging out there and then onto the trail. Yeah.
It's a really cool area with all the history and sort of artifacts and things you can find back there too. Kelsey had found an additional cliff dwelling a little ways back on the trail. And I think somebody we hiked with, Chris, had a ton of extra information from volunteering there for years.
So thanks, Dirk.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Dirk, I know you're up late or early in the morning, so thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, it's fun to see some familiar faces. Love it.
Cool. Any other questions by Gila? All right, I'll share a few other highlights here from 2025, and just these are a quick thank yous to these groups who are out there on the trail. This was our longest season that we had this year. We had trips that started March 5th, and we ran it through November 6th. So this was a picture of our very first trip out there with Dirk and Kelsey on the trail in the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon had a little bit of weather earlier on the season. In total, we had close to 50 trips this year. And over 9 months, this is kind of like the most trips we've had to date. Thank you guys. We have become one of the fastest growing groups in the Grand Canyon. I would say we have the most inspirational lineup of backpacking trips in the Grand Canyon. We're kind of, we have exactly the routes that we want. We're quickly becoming one of the best, recognized groups up in the Lost Coast. And in the Sierra, we have the #1 allocation for the most guided backpacking days to Mount Whitney, which we're super happy to be able to
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, it was kind of many years in the coming. We had our first proposal. I think she's on. They are here today. Natalie and Zach, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you for
Thank you.
allowing us to share in your experiences and your memories. And we look forward to having you back on the Confluence, I think, next year. If anyone would like to hike with will you be married before or after the trip? I'm not sure. Like
We will be married after.
after the trip, okay.
I proposed to my wife on the top of Mount Whitney after 23 days on the Jummer Trail. So it's a good thing to do. We've been married 42 years, so
Nice.
it works.
Awesome. Congrats. Thanks.
So congratulations to you, Natalie and Zach. And thank you for coming out with us. And Natalie, thanks for dragging Zach out there. Now he's signed up on his own, which is awesome.
Yep.
We did have one medical evacuation, and we don't usually share these stories. Luckily, it was just one this past year. It was a mom who had a twisted, broken leg as she was coming down the New Hants Trail down near Hants Rapids in the Grand Canyon. She was actually out there with her family. It was a spring break trip, and she had 3 kids and her husband with her. And when the helicopter came to pick her up, they said, "Okay, we'll take you. We can take your husband, but we're not taking your kids." And so the husband and the mom bailed out, and the 3 kids hiked on with Alyssa out of the Grand Canyon. So it was pretty amazing. Alyssa and Corey out of the Grand Canyon. So a pretty amazing feat. And it was awesome that the mom said that they had enough trust in us to kind of like just take the 3 kids and get them on out, which they did amazing. This kid actually was one of the 2 youngest people we had on the trail today, this past year. We had 2 10-year-olds on the trail, which was amazing. We had thousands and thousands of meals served, I would say. Sometimes they were super simple. I know sometimes there was one group that had a smoky rice incident, and we have a picture of this rice. There was some confusion whether the rice was instant rice or real rice, and how you cooked it was, I guess, a laughable affair. So they enjoyed it. The rice, sometimes the meals were a little bit more fancy, the desserts. Again, this is the Lost Coast. The Lost Coast is a little bit bougie on occasion. Many good times were had with friends in different ways, and thank you guys. I know for there were lots of tears, lots of difficult moments. I know, but also lots of good times and celebrations at the end. I would say there were tens of thousands of emails completely ignored, and that's something I'm super proud of. Hopefully, you guys can enjoy that as well. New friendships cemented. This is Trey and Alyssa. Trey's been working with us and guiding with us last 2 years. He was like brand new, fresh, bushy, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 2 years ago, and now he's kind of become more of a seasoned individual. I know he loves spending time with Alyssa, and Alyssa loves spending time with him on the trail. They work well together, and so if you're out there with them, hopefully you got to enjoy some of their spirits together.
Where'd Trey come from?
Trey is a local Clovis boy from Mike Murphy's class. Thanks,
Yes.
Mike.
He went to Mount Whitney with me when he was in the fifth grade. So I'm proud of him.
And old friendships were strengthened. This was an amazing group we had this past fall. It was a group of women, and they were all former Marines or Navy individuals. They had all met at a book club when they were stationed in Okinawa many years ago, and they had kept up through the book club. And once a year, they get back together and do different activities and adventures. This year, they did the New Hants Grandview route, which is pretty burly. They survived. They did it. They were former Marines, and man, their Marine instincts kicked in the whole way through. But if you go back and look at the reviews at our Grand Canyon Challenge, the last 3 reviews are from these 3 women, some of the women from these trips, and you can tell the impact it had on them, like as a lifelong experience to like strengthen the friendships and the bonds that they had. So it's great to have those moments out there together. This is another group of them down the river. So thanks for letting us share some of those stories, and thank you for sharing your stories with us this past year. I know there's many more stories. It's just like a couple. For 2026, we're looking forward. I don't think we'll have 80 trips in total, but we currently have 80 trips listed on our website for 2026, and we'd love to have you out with us. The Lost Coast is filling up nicely. Some of the newer trips are. We want to encourage people if you have friends or family to come back and join us in the Sierra. There's lots of different Sierra trips. We had like a TSX family kind of a discount earlier on, but we'd like to say if you'd like to join a Sierra or a Grand Canyon trip, and you're looking forward to something for next 2026, if you'd like to sign up by Friday, so now's the time to decide and sign up. We'd love to have you back out with us, and you could have a 10% discount. Just use the code INSPIRE for any of the Sierra or Grand Canyon type trips. Any questions on the Sierra trips or Grand Canyon trips? some of the stuff we have. Cool. All right, ask questions. I do want to say thank you. One of the reasons we've been able to kind of like keep our growth moving and move and have so much excitement and momentum going forward is some of the great people have been like connecting with us in different ways. We've connected with the Girl Scouts, and we hope that relationship is going to keep growing, especially in Northern California. Outside Chronicles is a group based in Buffalo. I know there may be some people on the call here from like the greater Buffalo area. For some reason, I love Western New York. They're amazing. They love to hike. They're hardy people. They know how to push themselves and accomplish amazing things. So it's a great fit for the TSX brand and the TSX culture. Outside Chronicles did a Grand Canyon trip with us this spring. They did a Mount Whitney trip with us this past summer, and they're coming out to the Lost Coast for 2026. So thank you guys. We've been able to connect with some all women's groups like Woe Travel. Woe Travel does trips to some of the most amazing destinations across the world, and we're very fortunate that we're the first domestic partnership they have with us. So they do places to all those amazing locations we talked about at the very beginning. That's where they go, and they do it in an incredibly high level. And we're very fortunate to have a partnership with them in the Grand Canyon and the Lost Coast as well. And then Tahoe Expedition Academy and a few other schools, we're trying to build relationships, so getting more young people out. So grateful for that as well. I do want to highlight something that's coming up fresh and new for this coming year is a new relationship, a partnership we have with Hiking My Feelings and Sydney. Sydney, I'll let you join in here in a second. I've been kind of following Sydney tangentially and what she's been building with Hiking My Feelings and now her new project Reciprocity RX for like the last 3 or 4 years. And there's been some crossover. People who hike with us also hike with Sydney and Barry and the programs that they have. And I'll let Sydney, Sydney, if you're here, you want to hop on for a second to share a little bit about your program and what you do and how it might connect with TSX this year going forward.
Yeah, thank you. Hi. Wow. So I know Kevin and Annie, if anybody's hiked with Kevin and Annie, those are some of the crossovers between the different experiences that we host to Hiking My Feelings and TSX. So I've heard wonderful things about this community, and so far, like I'm just loving everything that's going on here. So awesome job, Chris. What a cool group of folks you have that come through. We have a lot of repeaters at Hiking My Feelings too, and it's just so nice to see how much community support comes around repeat trips and stuff like that too. So, a little bit about us. We do trips that include stewardship projects. So, um, we host events in Sequoia National Park, Yosemite, Yellowstone Glacier, Redwood, Joshua Tree, Virgin Islands, Everglades and Biscayne, and now doing a trek with TSX to Mount Whitney to Mangaya, which is the Paiute name for Mount Whitney. And so what we're doing with Reciprocity RX is really encouraging people to get out and practice stewardship as much as they can. And in our lane, we're kind of looking at the intersection of public lands and public health. If you work in healthcare or provide care in any way, therapists, social workers, folks in hospitals and clinics, or if you work or care about public lands, it's been a tough year. So I just want to say, hey, and if that applies to any of y'all, we're all we got. We're going to make it. And good news is the government shutdown just ended. So hopefully we'll be able to restore what we've lost and start moving forward in good directions. But we're really excited to partner with TSX. Like Chris said, we've been kind of circling in each other's orbit for a few years, but this year in particular, we're really excited to do a immersive experience for our certification program, which is the Reciprocity RX program. So teaching folks how to live in more communal ways with each other, understand themselves a little bit better, and give back to the places that we care about. So we're really excited. We do generally like 3, 4, 5 day trips, not backpacking, but central to a location and doing some hikes here and there and doing stewardship projects in between our other activities. And we're really looking forward to backpacking. My husband and I that run the organization are avid backpackers ourselves. We've had the opportunity to summit Mount Whitney in 2021, but we're really looking forward to a longer route and having a little bit more time because we did ours as a day hike and that was excruciating. So I'm looking forward to some more time out there. And we have a open house coming up on December 10th. If you're interested, you can find more information at reciprocityrx.com. And we'll be talking a little bit more about what we're doing with this trek and how the program and the in-person experience go together. So, yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. I hope I didn't take up
Yeah,
too much of your
no, it's
time.
good. I've heard nothing but amazing things. Like Sydney herself has an amazing story to share, and she's been sharing her story, writing books, and giving speeches and inspiring people for many years now. And it's great to have a connection with her to help kind of like share what we know and what we do well with the experiences that she knows that she does well as well. So we're going to be supporting her program and enabling people to have this kind of culminating experience this year on the Trans Sierra trip to Mount Whitney, and hopefully an opportunity for many years to grow as well. So, thank you, Sydney. Appreciate it. Nice to be connected
Yeah.
to the community. And that was just like a small sample, like opportunities for us to kind of like keep growing with people. And so, thank you guys. If you have other people, other groups, this is like our core group. The people on this call tonight. So, thank you guys for sticking with TSX. If there's other connections we can make or we can be helpful, please let us know. Like we'll do whatever we can to get more people out and hopefully have a positive impact on others. And then last but not least, we are going to talk about our second international trip tonight. And I've kind of flowed this with a few of you guys. I'm not sure, like, we'll see how it goes. So our second international trip is going to be someplace a little bit, well, different. Like the question is like, how do we pick our trips? And we've looked at these routes, again, like I said, to Kilimanjaro. People have been asking us, hey, Chris, can we organize a trip out there? Maybe we'll get a group together at some point to kind of like make something like that happen just as like something for fun or of a space camp. Um, but the reality is, like, we try and pick places where we can add some value. If you look at Gila Wilderness, there's no one taking trips out in Gila. It doesn't exist. It's hard to find. Not a lot of people doing trips out in Gila Wilderness. And so this is an opportunity for us to bring and do something different and kind of enable people to access one of these like more natural historic places. The Trans Sierra route that Mike helped establish, Mike's been hiking this route since the early 80s. And so like this has like a long history where I grew up in Clovis, Fresno area, like of taking all different people from the community and students and people out on this inspirational hike and having an impact. And it's had a positive impact on me and my family, lots of people in our community, and now lots of many of you and your families as well. So like thank you, Mike, for helping to kind of like start this
My
experience
pleasure.
to touch more people.
My pleasure.
I guess what I would kind of say is like I end up kind of leaning on things that I know or things that I have interest in. I'm very fortunate that I think, I grew up in the Clovis, Fresno area. I used to work in San Francisco. The reason I started TSX back in the day was I was working like 80 hours a week in finance in a tall glass building, and I wanted a reason to go back outside. And this was an opportunity to share something I love with others while also doing something a little bit for myself as well, right? Because like I wanted to like have a change of pace and spend more time outdoors because you feel better by doing that. And we all know that. So we started that Trans Sierra route. All the other routes have kind of been layered in based off people I met and things I've learned about and things I know. The big trip that we had listed out to Baffin Island is because I used to actually spend some time in Canada. I lived in Canada for about a year, and that was at the time when the Nunavut was becoming like a formal territory, and there were these great documentaries on the BBC, on the CBC about like Baffin Island, and so that like stuck with me for many years. And finally, after reconnecting with Alyssa, who's had spent some time in the north, we put Baffin Island back on the list and on the map. And so it's exciting to like have our first trip out there this summer. It's really been coming together. Like when we kind of like launched it last year, we had the framework, but now it's kind of like the nuts and bolts are coming together. We just booked two uh, private flights for 10 people each, going back and forth to from Ottawa. So the flights are confirmed and reserved. We're on the books and we're excited to go. By the way, couldn't be more excited to go. The Baffin Island is gonna be phenomenal. But there's another location that has like had my interest for many years, and some of you may or may not know. But like I used to live in Canada. I used to live in San Diego. I used to live in South Bend, Indiana. But I also used to live in China. I used to live in Shanghai, in fact. This is a picture of me back in the day and my mom when she came to visit me when I was like an quote unquote exchange student. I was like living, this is a summer, I think my junior year in college. The first time I went to Shanghai, or the second time I went to Shanghai. And this is now looking at Nanjing Lu on the, just if you keep going down to this, you'll get to the Bund. Back in the day, the Bund used to look like this. Like, I thought it was the most amazing sight in the world back then. And now it looks like this, right? It's a little bit different. Like, it's completely grown and even more so. This doesn't even do it justice, the craziness of that is Shanghai. So actually, I would say I used to speak Chinese. I was a Chinese major back in the day. My Chinese is a little bit rough now. Yeah, maybe they'll come back, but I have some natural interest, and I've always had like an eye on some places in China, in particular. And if you think about this, like here's a map of like Asia, and when most people think about going to like is like the Himalayas, right? And most people end up kind of like on the southwestern side of the Himalayas. You're in Nepal, right? You're going to like the big Annapurna trek, the Everest Base Camp treks, like the big treks on the east side. What doesn't get a lot of love is on the west side. What doesn't get a lot of is the east side. Like what's on the other side of the Himalayas? Why is it like I know maybe China is out of favor politically, maybe it's out of favor like socially. I'm not, there's different things out there, but what I do know is that I still have friends there. I still have people like connections. I still have connections there. I still have people have families there, and the people I know are amazing people, and the culture I know is an amazing culture, and I loved like being there, and I would love to share it with others. And so there's this area that is off the radar for most people, but somehow is on my radar. If you look at a town called Chengdu, Chengdu is right here. It's on the kind of the eastern side of Asia. It's in near Sichuan province. And from Chengdu, like there's actually a pretty big mountain that just sits right outside the city. And you'll see what I mean here in a second when I mean like sits right outside the city. This is Mount Gonga or Gongashan. So like it's a big mountain. In fact, it's like a 25,000 foot mountain that sits right outside the city. The city's at 500 meters. This is like at 7,000 plus meters, and it looks a little bit like this. So here's the city, and here's the mountain that sits right behind it. And most people are like, "What? Like that's China? Like yeah, that's China." There's a big mountain that sits right behind the city with tens of millions of people. But that it doesn't get much it doesn't get much attention, doesn't get much play, doesn't get much love. It's like off the beaten path. But that's kind of what I like. That's kind of how we like it. And so we are going to introduce for 2027 our Mount Gongashan or Gonga Mount Gonga Challenge. And if you have an interest, you can keep us in mind. Let us know. We're going to start building interests right now, with the hope of kind of like having a formal plan or formal trip released by the summer of next year. So we'd love to have you out there. It's a big mountain. It's going to be a little bit of a combination of kind of a hut or type backpack and backpacking. So both camping in tents and both camping at huts along the way. We're going to build a cultural aspect of this into this as well in two ways. One, both along the trail that we do. The route we're looking at the moment is going to be roughly speaking a week-long route, about 50 miles. Elevation will be up to around 15,000 feet elevation as we kind of go around this Mount Gonga region. We're going to start and end in Chengdu. However, we're also going to have an opportunity for people to join if they like for a couple of days in Shanghai to putz around Shanghai, see some of the sights, and enjoy some time with the TSX team pre-trip in Shanghai if you like. Otherwise, we'll just meet you in Chengdu. We're currently looking at this either kind of at the early part of the summer or later part of the summer. That's where there's less rain. So we're going to try and catch the less rainy sections. And we'd love to have you out. If you have any interest in taking a flyer and maybe joining TSX in China, you can find it on the website. It's just indication of interest for 2027. We're going to just take first come, first serve. And this is just a $250 deposit, fully refundable. If anytime you want to back out, let us know up until the point where we have everything finalized. Once we have the dates laid out, that itinerary hardened a bit more. At that point, we're going to ask for like a more formal deposit and update you from there. So we'd love to have you with us. This is the Mount Gongashan Challenge, and that is Zhongguo. That is like China at the very end in China. And thank you guys for hanging out with me. That's Kid in a nutshell. More information can be found on our website, tsxchallenge.com. There is, you can shoot me an email, send me a text. We'll literally answer questions year round from many of you as we kind of prepare and plan for upcoming trips. We're happy to share as much as we can so you have a safe and enjoyable trip either this year or in years to come on any of our routes. We'd love to have you out with us. And if you're not on social media yet, follow us on social media. We'd love to have you there as well. And with that, I will pause it and see. Hey, many of you are still here, which is awesome. And we'll take any questions. So thank you guys.
Impressive, Chris. Quite a growth from the first times.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And And if you have to go, I understand. Feel free to drop off. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Hopefully we can connect sometime down the road. Some of you are signed up for trips. Some of you will hopefully come back for trips. We'll try and get you an email probably early tomorrow morning with some of the details here as well that you can follow up with or click through. So we'd love to have you out.